Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. I hope that you're having a awesome Sunday or Monday, depends on when you're watching this, I guess. But I wanted to make this a somewhat of fun, interesting talk that you can benefit from instantly. You know, this isn't just a deep philosophical talk yet. I will have to get into that realm to make it more effective for you. So I just want to start real quick. Many years ago, an acquaintance of mine, Yasser Qadi, who I admire a lot in terms of his knowledge, in terms of his ability to capture an audience, his oratory skills, and he's a great guy, very, very learned, scholarly person, you know, has the Western credentials and has the, you know, the Medina University credentials. So he's looked upon as a very credible source for our Islam, our understanding of Islam. And I'm really grateful for people like him to pioneering, you know, the Islamic identity here in America, which has been shifting a lot, you know. There are other scholars just as big, even bigger than him. Who remembers, you know, the scholar that was shot, that was killed in a drone strike, I believe in 2000 and, I don't know, 2000. He was from Yemen. Can someone type that in, the scholar? Okay, anyways, what I want to say is Brother Yasser Qadi gave a awesome lecture on dua, weapon of a believer, the weapon of the believer. Okay, and I've watched that lecture many times. It's gotten me out through some really dark times just to understand the concept, and now going in my journey, in this whole spiritual journey that I've been having for the past couple of years, that has literally turned my life upside down. And that sounds bad, but it's actually good, because if your life was depressing and you're depressed and unhealthy, and to turn that life upside down, it's gonna have to get uncomfortable. There's a point where the ship turns and there's no point of no return, you know, the crossroads, and there's no going back. So it's, for me, alhamdulillah, I can say I've been past that point, and things are lining up, you know, and this lecture that by Yasser Qadi was one of them. That was one of those things that gave me that strength to kind of, you know, just really ask for dua. And that led me to, you know, some du'as getting accepted, you know, but we ask for dua. We ask for patience, right? We ask for, I mean, I don't know. Do people pray for patience? Wait, someone typed. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Green, please. That's okay, dude. Okay. So people ask for, you know, they pray to God, right? They pray to God, and they, oh God, please give me the patience to, you know, to overcome these difficult times, and this and that. And then say the next day, you know, you're having an argument and you start yelling at somebody. That patience was available for you, but you didn't act on it. See, the patience of not responding and not yelling back, and kind of allowing the other person to vent, or allowing yourself to kind of feel defeated or feel hurt by that person. It's like you didn't have the patience for that, yet you pray for patience. See, prayer is a lot more than just a tool. See, prayer is defined. I'm going to show you the definition. I'm gonna give you the definition of dua. Okay, dua. In the terminology of Islam, dua, literally meaning invocation. Invocation, okay, is an act of supplication, prayer. The term is derived from an Arabic word meaning to call out or to summon. To call out, to summon, and to invoke. Okay, these are the words I'm hitting on. And Muslims regard this as a profound act of worship. See, the act of prayer, we do our daily prayers. That is just a ritual to get you ready for that invocation of the divine. You have to summon that. You have to summon the divine from within you. See, and when you make wudu, you're doing a ritual. You're washing your hands and your face, and you're doing it 3 times. It's all a ritual. It goes much deeper than anything. So that ritual of wudu, it's getting you purified in the physical and in the mental, more importantly. In the mental first, that is translated to the physical. We have it opposite, and that's why things are so difficult. Everything is from the mental, and it's manifested in the physical. So you can be just washing your hands and doing just something you have to do before you pray, and then you just go pray, and you're saying these words, and you're just thinking about some other things, and you're just praying, and then you say salam, and then okay, you make quick dua, okay, bismillah, okay, peace be upon Allah, okay, give me help, okay, you pray, and then you go back to your work, or you go back to your TV show, and that continues on for years and years and years and years, and then once a year or twice a year, you might have a really deep, profound prayer moment where maybe it's in Ramadan, right? You're in Ramadan and you're really praying, you're crying, and you're doing all this stuff in this whole month, some days more than others, but it's like it's coming from a deep, true place, and it's different from the rest of the days. See, the act of wudu is step 1 in that purification. See, it sets your intention of purification and all that stuff, with the acts, being manifested with some, different acts and different geometries, that you're performing structured action in the physical that manifests something, because everything that you create has it has a meaning to it. It's energy being transferred. See, so when you're making wudu, when you're doing that wudu before you pray, before Muslims pray, you have to do wudu, right? Some people, you know what you mean. When you go to the bathroom and you have to pray or something like that, you do wudu. Okay, it's a profound act of cleansing your mindset, and then you go to prayer, which are profound acts of geometry, different motions, okay, different thoughts, and then you put emotion to it. It's like when you say like Allah, like Allahu Akbar, like you're literally invoking Allahu Akbar, that the oxygen has the imprint through your esophagus. That sound, Allah, is a sound, it's a vibration, and then from that you're moving the muscle, which muscle needs oxygen, so you're literally moving in the name of the divine when you're praying, right? Because every breath coming in and every breath going out, it has it should have a frequency and vibration and a tone attached to it in the mental, and then it's in the physical. It's energy. Energy can't be destroyed. It just gets transferred. And so what does that have to do with dua? So when you pray and you're making the prayer movements, you're setting your vibrational frequency from just, before you made wudu, you were maybe worried and this and that. Okay, you make wudu, you kind of get into a different space in your mind, and you're doing all these rituals, getting you ready. You do the prayer, you get in a certain space, and then now you're sitting down, and now you have to do dua, which is invocation. It is summoning. So you summon the attributes of the divine. Summon strength. So it's all strength is from the Creator, right? All strength is from Allah. All mercy is from Allah. All patience is from Allah. Everything is from Allah. So how do you get that? If everything is Allah's, nothing is yours, nothing is mine. I can't have anything. So I have to get to a certain frequency above the lower density nafs kinds of things, that the nafs, it's separate. It some people aren't ready for this information because their belief system is so structured. It's so it holds their identity so much that this kind of talk is like it's useless to them, But the point is, dua is invocation. Once you understand that and you get to that higher frequency, then what you make dua for, it's like you'll be tested. You want health, right? You invoke health. You invoke and you invoke energy, right? Say you want, okay, please Allah, give me health and the power to make better choices in my daily life, not get angry about little things, and not get angry at all, and kind of let and forgive people. There's certain energy that you have to invoke. Forgiveness, mercy, happiness. All things belong to Allah. So you have to invoke those from within you, and then you'll get tested with something that, if you pass the test, you'll receive that, a little bit of that happiness, and you do that with all kinds of things in your life, and you're just living in bliss because you understand that nothing comes from you. You just have to align yourself to something higher than the physical ego recognizes. This is getting into quantum physics, because in quantum physics we recognize everything is just a bunch of atoms and empty space and frequencies and vibrations. But what makes it that form? It's that consciousness to invoke the divine attributes through you, so you become like a vessel. But to have that energy, even a little piece of it, acting as a vessel through you, your vessel has to be at a very high state of frequency, so you can witness more blessings, more of the energy from the divine. And then isn't that what life is about? Is to get to a certain point where you're asking for things from within and preparing yourself the whole time to get ready for that thing, but you don't know what it is. You can't have a specific way it has to look. See, a lot of people ask for certain things from God, right? But we expect it to come in a way that we imagine it. And that part that's imagining it is the ego, is the nafs, which is scared, which is living in fear, which is rooted in its own survival and its own existence. And that's the journey, where you have to basically raise your consciousness. You have to raise that part of you inside and show it through discipline, through the different actions we do, and knowing the energy behind it, the reasoning, the true reasoning behind it. It's like that child starts growing up. It's like a horse that you're trying to tame, a wild horse that you should break, and then it becomes a friend of yours. The horse becomes a friend of yours. It can carry a bunch of weight. It can take you to different places, where you couldn't go by yourself. The soul can't do this without the body. You can't witness the pleasures, the divine, without the body in any way. But that process of breaking the horse, that's a difficult part, and a lot of times we're in that process which our society tells us what the process is, but it's not the total truth. It keeps you kind of wild. It keeps you kind of wild, because if you break that part of you, and then you have the structures in place to not break it where it's broken, you're not breaking it. You're taming it to understand, okay, this is the real dunya. Okay, the dunya this is an illusion. This is why you have to do wudu, so you can align your frequency, your energy body that makes your physical body at a certain frequency. And then that's a process. If your frequency is really low and you have to get higher, you have to go higher and higher, then that's a transformation that will be seen even in your physical. You get to a certain point, and then to go even higher, it takes a lot more of training. And not just training, it takes a lot more training in terms of training in the mind and training in the physical. Because the body has to catch up also, and that's the hardest part, like a Muslim, a true Muslim is not supposed to have fear, right? But people say, oh yeah, I don't fear anything but Allah. It's like, yeah, is that true? Is that really true? Don't you get a little bit fearful when a police is behind you, a police officer in a police car behind you? Where's that fear coming from? You fear because, you don't want to get a ticket, because then this, money, because it's tied to your nafs, your illusionary self, and preserving your life, and the way it knows. But it doesn't mean that once you understand the truth, you become reckless. No, actually, once you understand the real truth, then your time becomes more precious. Your habits become more aligned. They become aligned with your goal. Ultimately, your goal has to have an intention. And that leads me to another thing. We ask for dua, but dua is just basically something you want. That's what it's tied down to, something you want. Yet you don't even have any goals. I'm talking about 97% of Americans, they don't have goals. Only 3% of the population keeps goals. And out of that, only a small part of them is actually a goal achiever, and a goal maker and a goal achiever. That's like, let's just say 1.5%. Not 1.5% of the population. I'm talking about 1.5% of the 3% is actually a goal maker and a goal achiever. I'll be honest. I had goals. I never had them written down, and that's still the same thing. If you don't have it written down, you don't have a goal. That's the trick to this. It's like, oh, I have goals. Well, do you have it written down? No, that's the people we're talking about. Only 3% of the people that even written it down, only 1.5% of them are achieving those goals. So what makes the difference between that? Once I started making goals, then it's like, okay, it's not happening. I'm not. See? It's much deeper. You have to change from within. You have to change your belief system about your beliefs about yourself. Because if your goal is a lot of our goals are just basically, they're more of a defensive move. It's more of a short-term kind of like want or need. And then once that happens, and that goes by, like for example, say your goal is to lose 10 pounds, you want to fit into that dress, You know, you want to fit into that suit that you have to wear to your friend's wedding, you know, next month, and you want to fit into it nicer. So you want to lose 10 pounds. You lose the 10 pounds, you know, and then, you know, yeah, it's hard to lose that 10 pounds, you know, and then you lose it, and then you're like, you feel good about yourself, you feel better, you know, and then you're like, yeah, I want to stay like this. But it's like your old habits and your lifestyle gets back to normal, because that lifestyle of losing that 10 pounds already happened. So you lost the 10 pounds, and now you revert back to the same you at plus 10 pounds, expecting to stay at negative 10 pounds. It doesn't work like that. And worse, it's a very slow increase. And by the time you realize, you feel bad more, you're like busy at work and this and that, and you know, there's no like weddings coming up, so there's not really like incentive, and you're like, oh, you know what, I'll do it after the season of this thing's done, or after, you know, after I come back from traveling, I'll do it, you know, and then it's like it never happens, because it's tied to our own belief system and our lifestyle, and the kind of lifestyle you have is tied to a belief system, and everything that we believe has been told to us. And we know now that the people that told us those things, you know, it's to keep us at a certain level, to keep a certain structure going, you know. But yeah, Doa, once you understand the power of Doa, you know, it's a tool. It's a tool to what? Tool to become a vessel for the divine. Once you understand that, at what level do you want that? And if you want that, you're going to be tested with hardship. You're going to be tested with, you know, people that don't like what you're doing, because to them, you know, it's like you look like a certain way, but they're like, oh, it's easy to look like that. It's not. You know, you have to make your physical self and your mental self strong enough. You have to make your mental self strong enough to understand the divine and energy, and how you're the vessel, and everything is these laws, and then these unseen laws and energy, and how is it put together. It's all really, and it's happening all in your mind, and then you get into the even the quantum physics of it, you know, and it's just like mind-boggling. And I say it all the time, quantum physics and spirituality are one and the same. It's just that our spiritual systems, all of them, they say the same thing, that there's only one divine force to everything that created everything, and never was born, or never was alive. You know, it's like it never dies. It's like we're from that. We are a part of that, and we're going to return to that. So how can you be fearful of death? That's the root, actually, the fear of death. That is the shell, and everything inside that shell has been, the shell formed from the core of that seed, and that shell is the fear of death. But there's no death. There's just transformation. And the reason why a lot of people fear death is because they know that they have been acting contrary to their inner intuition for most of their life. In little things, even from having jealousy and envy and hatred towards somebody else, or, you know, arrogance. You know, it doesn't have to be like physical things. I'm talking about even from within, the vibration that sets you. You know, like what is your state of vibration? Are you angry? Are you bitter? Are you happy when you're, you know, at a certain, in doing a certain thing, and then you're at that level. Then when you go home, you're somebody else, and when you go in the car, you're somebody else. You just adopt different vibrations that are around you, like a artificial intelligence that just kind of, it's kind of like this Bluetooth that just connects to everything. That's not what you are. You're much greater than that. But to get to that realization, it takes a lot of letting go of limiting beliefs. And that's fear, because that is death for the nafs, for the ego. That is death. Because it's a label. It's holding on to labels. Now you need labels. I'm a human, you know, I need this body. So like I want to consciously put labels on me as my clothing, my spiritual clothing and my mental clothing, which makes my physical reflection reflect in this kind of way. Having this kind of speech, having this kind of eating habits, having this kind of, energy about me. And that's why this is so important, the spiritual work. And it's all ties into everything. You can't segregate your spirituality in different parts of your life. It's all connected. There's no separation. Yeah, maybe you can't talk about it at your work, but guess what? The more separation you have in your day-to-day life, the more separation you'll have internally from the divine. And you'll have all these barriers of separation in your mental because you have so much separation in your physical. We have so much separation from even how food is made. You know, most children, they don't know how tomatoes grown and this and that. They don't know, but it's not their fault. Didn't we create this kind of environment for them? And then we blame all these millennials. It's like, you are their parents. You are their grandparents. So don't complain about them. You created them. Your values created them. And what you valued was to keep this charade going, And the economy's fallen. Like, okay, gas prices are going up. There's a lot of turmoil now. It's like, there's going to be a tipping point, and that's when like the stuff will hit the fan, as in, I'm talking about it personally, people. It's not like, I'm not talking about mayhem, but the more people at an individual level start to manifest their anger and their suffering in the physical, in terms of like road rage or their health getting worse, or yelling at their family members, or having some kind of somewhere where it's going to, in a bad way. The more it happens to individuals make up communities. Communities make up, small towns make up, bigger towns, and it's like it just becomes a reflection of the aggregate energy of the people. And in terms of our health epidemic, in my community, it's very bad. I mean, yeah, sure, the Muslim community makes, 3 times per capita than the average person, and we're so proud of that, but it's like, that's not what life is about. These are just definitions. Of course, those are important things. But I'm saying is, when you understand the structure, when you understand the divine and your place in that divine energy and your consciousness, and the more people that understand this, that's when they can really manifest their life. You know, somebody, I met somebody that, you know, is basically doing what they love, you know, and this person loves to surf, you know, and it's so cool. It's like this person moved to Australia to become to basically start his own like kind of surfing company, and he does. He's, you know, he makes enough where he surfs daily and teaches people to surf, and he has a small place, you know, by the ocean, and you know, eats fresh food and goes to work and comes back. But it's like it's not a job, you know, it's a lifestyle, and that's the thing we have to create is a lifestyle. But we give our energies to the notion of a job, the notion of keeping together a certain image, the notion of, you know, keeping up a certain facade of what success is. Yet internally, mentally, people are really destroyed, and it's like it's slowly manifesting in the mindset of the community and the family, the individuals. So it's a big problem. And you know, I'm not saying you know, get rid of pleasure and this and that. No, I'm saying is really when you witness the sweetness of this understanding of the divine, of Allah, of this reality of the quantum, then like everything is amazing. It's really divine, and that makes me want to like always be in the state of worship. Literally, there's no rule against that. I can be in a state of worship all the time because it's a state of surrender. You know, you're surrendering yourself to the divine, but it's not just surrendering. You have to get to that stage physically, and then, but it's all like at the same time. It's not like, oh, when I lose 20 pounds, then I'll be happy. You know, it's like it's the process itself because it's all happening now. Because there's no future and there's no past. It's just always right now. Because when is tomorrow? When it's tomorrow, it's already tomorrow. So it's not the future. We think we can, our nafs, our physical self can imagine something. But see, we're not in charge. You're not in charge. That's the thing. My nafs is not in charge. And that is a very, very big pill to swallow. Like, no, I'm in charge a little bit. No, you're not in charge at all. It's like, but once you understand you're not in charge, then it's like you make yourself into that vessel where you're just gonna make yourself ready, you know, always for whatever happens, you know. And then the more you get yourself ready for a more of a complex structural form, then that's what's going to happen to you more at a certain frequency. So if I'm always worried and I'm fearful and I'm creating my structure based on that fear, then whatever comes to me, it's going to be at the same dimension, in the same frequency level. Otherwise, you know, it's like a magnet. But what is that magnet magnetized to? What kind of energy is it gonna attract? So you could be we're like a magnet, and if you set your energy to that level of like, okay, just kind of like survivalism and fear and this, then you're gonna attract that energy too. That feeds off that energy that you created, of fear, of survivalism. So everything will in your life will kind of fit into that mold. You know, but when you raise your consciousness, you raise your frequency, you raise your intent is not just a physical goal, but it's more of a encapsulation of a certain frequency. Then you'll start to attract those kinds of frequencies. That's what the whole law of attraction is. But although the law of attraction is great, it leaves off a lot of key factors that don't allow you to take that spiritual journey in that balanced way. That's the difference with the law of attraction that, for example, Oprah uses, and the law of attraction most people understand. You know, this yes, it's the same thing, but it's not the same thing. You know, it's much deeper. It's understanding energy, understanding frequency and vibration, and and you know, really energy, and invoking certain feeling states and certain thoughts. So next time you make dua, like, you really get into a different kind of frequency. That's why in our Islamic tradition, you know, in the middle of the night prayer, the Tahajjud prayer, before the sun rises, like an hour before, that's like 3 a.m. Why is that time so? It's like, oh, Allah is so close to you. He's like right there, you know. It's a metaphor, because when you wake up in the middle of the night from sleep, you're still in the theta frequency. You're in a theta brainwave. You're half asleep and you're half awake. You're in like a dreamland. And then imagine at that state, you're invoking certain attributes. Oh, give me strength. Oh, Allah, please make it easier. Please give me the strength to, you know, make better decision, and give me the, you know, give me, you know, please present somebody that can take me to the next level, and whatever, you know, whatever you make dua. It's like when you're doing that, you're already at that theta state of brainwave. And that's why it's so powerful to make dua at that time. You know, that reminds me, I'm going to do that more often, you know. And, you know, we all can use extra encouragement to connect with that deep part of us. That part of us that created us, it's a piece of that is in us, because it cannot be not in us, because we are in it. Okay. So I've said enough. So yeah, it's a tool that, you know, just like any tool. And the thing is, a tool is moldable to any kind of tool. It's not like you have one hammer and that's it. That's a tool you have. That's the dua is one tool. It's like infinite tools. It's different attributes. It's different. It's an amazing tool. You can like always upgrade, and then the tool always becomes more and more powerful the more you use it. Okay, everyone, thank you for listening, and I hope this helped out. And no matter what religion you are, you can still connect with the divine. You know, dua is not only for the Muslim person to invoke the divine from within you. That's not only for Muslims. It's for anybody, and at any level. I mean, the devil, the shaitan, the Satan made dua to Allah. Okay. The devil, the Satan himself, Iblis himself made dua to Allah. Yet there's a lot of people, at one point, actually, I was ashamed of making dua. Like, I was like, man, I'm making dua all the time, nothing happens. You know, whatever, I don't care anymore. It's like, you know what, I'm just gonna pray and like just show that I'm praying, so my family's off my back, and I'm just doing these things because I feel guilty if I don't, you know. And then it's like, or, you know, I'll see my friends every Friday and we'll hang out and make plans for the weekend, you know, on Jummah. And then, you know, it's like, that's what it leads to, you know. And that's what, like, well, but once you really understand, then you really see the illusion you were living in. and the beliefs you had, the structures in your mind you had, and those structures have to break down, and you're left with a void. But there are teachings to teach you the real structure, how to really create, how to really make dua, how to really set your brain waves certain ways, how to really look at reality and see the illusion in it and see the structure in it too. There's structure everywhere. There's angles everywhere. There's geometry. There's sacred geometry everywhere. See, like the Mason thing, you know, it's a square and a compass. And Masons made physical structure. They're actually stone masons. But the G inside there, you know, some people say, oh, it's geometry, or some people say it's God, or some people say it's, you know, whatever. I'm not going to say, but I'm saying is like the structure is nothing. You can't have structure without consciousness, without something that gives it form, you know. And the more complex the structure, the more complex the form. So more complex the thought. Okay. Thank you for listening, everyone, and have a great Sunday. And try to get up in the morning. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it tonight. I'm gonna get up at 3:30, maybe 3, and get up, and I'm gonna do some dua and you know, communicate with the divine, you know. And nothing is separate. It can't be. Nothing can be outside of the divine. So when you're praying, when you're making dua, you're actually invoking that energy. And that's a tool. Okay, assalamu alaikum, everyone. And if you want to refer to that video, just type in on YouTube, Yasser Qadhi, Weapon of the Believer. Okay? Okay, assalamu alaikum.